May ordered her coffee without looking at the menu. Medium latte, please. And can I get oat milk? The barista nodded and wrote her name on the cup. May paid, stepped aside, and checked her phone. She had a meeting in 20 minutes. She was ready. 6 months earlier, May would have pointed at the menu. That was her system. She found the item she wanted, put her finger on it, and slid it across the counter. No words necessary. If the cashier asked something, size, milk, name, she smiled and nodded. Once she got a large coffee when she wanted a small one. She drank it anyway. At work, she sent emails instead of making calls. In meetings, she prepared 3 sentences in advance and said them quickly before anyone could ask a follow-up question. After the meeting, she went to the bathroom and breathed. This was her life in English: careful, narrow, safe. The belief was simple. If she spoke, they would notice her accent. If they noticed her accent, they would think she was less intelligent. If they thought she was less intelligent, they would not take her seriously. And if they did not take her seriously, everything she had worked for would mean less. This was the logic. She knew it wasn't completely true, but knowing something isn't true and feeling it isn't true are different things. The feeling was faster than the logic. The feeling always arrived first. So she stayed quiet. Quiet felt like control. Quiet felt like protection. Quiet felt for a long time like the smartest choice she could make. Then her manager sent an email on a Thursday afternoon. The client call was moved. The colleague who always led the English presentations was sick. The call was in 40 minutes. May read the email twice. Then she read her manager's next message. "Can you take it?" She sat at her desk and looked at the screen. She thought about saying no. She thought about a headache, a conflict, a reason. But her manager was already in another meeting. The client was already waiting. The deck was already open on her screen. There was no system for this, no menu to point at. She put on her headphones and joined the call. "Hello, everyone. My name is May. I will present today." Her voice was quieter than she wanted. She clicked to the first slide. Her hands were cold. "This slide shows our results from last quarter." She paused. The pause felt long. Then she continued. "We see an increase of 12%. Someone on the call said, 'Great!'" May looked at the word on her screen, "increase," and kept going. She made one grammar mistake. She repeated one number twice. At the end, a man named David said, "Thanks, May. Really clear." She said, "Thank you." She did not say anything else, but she stayed on the call until it ended. Afterward, She noticed something small. Nobody had looked at her accent. That wasn't the right way to say it. She knew that. But that was how it felt. They had looked at the slides. They had listened to the numbers. One person had taken notes. The accent was there in every sentence she spoke, and nobody had paused because of it. She had expected the accent to be the first thing. It wasn't even a thing. She sat with that for a while. It didn't erase the fear, but it made the fear slightly smaller than it had been before. After that, she started letting the silence be a little shorter. She stopped preparing her exact sentences before every meeting, just the ideas. When she didn't know a word, she described it instead of going quiet. She made one phone call a week that she would have sent as an email before. She stopped drinking the wrong size coffee. Now, May stood at the counter with her medium latte and her oat milk and her name written in black marker on the side of the cup. The barista called it out, and she raised her hand, just slightly, just enough. She took the cup and walked to her usual table by the window. 6 months ago, she had sat at this same table and pointed at the menu. She hadn't known then that pointing was only the beginning. The cup was warm in her hands, and outside the window, the city moved that way it always did, without waiting, without explaining, in a language she was still learning and had already started to speak. Hi everyone, I am Nadir. If you learned some English with today's video, subscribe for more. See you next time. Bye.